Hey everyone, so welcome back to the Essentials channel. Today we'll be touching on the next project review, which is on Faber Residences. Will it be fabulous or will it be fading away? By the end of this review, we will see whether is it such a fabulous property. Alright, so first of all, as always, we will go through our rapid fire information, the site plan and floor plan analysis with whatever info that we have, followed by why I would not buy Faber Residences, why I will buy Faber Residences, as well as my final verdict. So if you liked our content so far, remember to like, share and subscribe so that it can continue to support the YouTube algorithm. I'm always here to provide unique insights as well as research and analysis. Some of you have even reached out to me and asked me for my advice, and we have since met up. Please keep this coming as I really want to make a friend with you. So remember to like, share and subscribe and contact me at 9456-9398. So before we head into it, will this be a fabulous project or a project that fades away? So now let's head into the rapid fire information. First of all, it is sitting on a site area of 25,795 square meters, which is equivalent to about 260,000 square feet of land. Now, to draw some reference for you, this is as big as our nearby development, Nava Grove, but instead of a low-rise development, Nava Grove is actually a high-rise development. And of course, you can see that is actually a very big plot of land, very livable. And of course, you can see from here how Faber Residences is going to utilize this land space to fit in a total number of 399 units. A plot ratio of 1.4, maximum GFA of 36,114 square meters. Building height, it's only restricted to 5 stories. Total number of blocks, 9 blocks. Proposed number of stories is 5 stories. Floor to ceiling height is about 2.9 meters. Car park lots, you get a 399 car park lot, which is a 1:1 ratio, followed by 4 handicap lots and 13 EV lots to prepare for the future, as well as 102 bicycle lots, as this is very closely connected to the park connectors, so on and so forth. Alright, so we can see from here, no matter how big the piece of land is, because of that minimum size area of 85 square meters, that's why the development's density is kept under control. Otherwise, being such a big piece of land, we can easily squeeze in a lot more. Now, all these are of course definitely restricted by the average sizing as well as the plot ratio. Alright, so now we move into the unit distribution. Again, there is no one bedroom as what I've mentioned before in my previous videos. Not having the one bedrooms will not cause prices to dilute, like what we always say before, because the one bedrooms demand is not as high. When it comes to a homestay area, the resale demand will be quite low, and in a way the owners are forced to adjust their pricing. And you know how they always peg against the PSF of a smaller unit versus a bigger unit. By right, a smaller unit should have a higher PSF as compared to the bigger unit, but ultimately because of this pulling down of PSF, it will affect the bigger unit's PSF as well. So we do not get that problem here. We will have 2 bedrooms, 3 types, averagely 646 square feet, total number of units 80 units, which constitutes 20% of the entire development. Next, have the 3-bedroom basic. We have 2 types of 797 square feet, as well as 2 types of 818 square feet, which constitutes to a total number of 93 units, a mix of 23% of the total development. Next, we have 3-bedroom standard, where we have 861 square feet, 3 types, C5 to C7, total number of units 56 units, as well as a 14% constitution of the entire development. Next, we have the 3-bedroom plus, which is C8 to C11, total number of units 50 units, constituting 13% of the entire development, followed by the 4-bedroom basic of 1119 square feet at 40 units, 10% of the entire development, with a 4-bedroom standard of 1206, 1216 and 1270 square feet respectively. Total number of units 60, that constitutes about 15% of the entire development. And finally, we have the 5-bedroom standard, which constitutes about 20 units at 1485 square feet, covering 5% of the entire development. So based on the unit distribution, we can see there's only 20% of 2 bedrooms, which probably constitutes to the more investment audience, but otherwise it is also catered to families that are just starting out or small families who are upgrading from nearby HDBs. Otherwise, you will see that the majority of it, about 80% of it, is more focused on the homestay demand. Of course, one may argue that the 3-bedroom basic is also a new type of investment unit because they kept the 3-bedroom size to about 797 square feet, which is quite common in today's market given the GFA harmonization. The GFA harmonization has since opened new types of bedroom types, such as the 3-bedroom basic, where we see spring leaf, Residences pioneering this, exactly because it's by GuocoLand itself. Again, 797 square feet is something that we are seeing down here. So it has actually created 2 to 3 new bedroom types. Last time 4 bedrooms used to be about 1,200 to 1,400 square feet. We have new 4 bedroom basic types such as 1,184 square feet, or like this one is a 1,119 square feet. So these are the few unit types that came out to fill the price voids of today's market, to make sure the quantums are kept low and kept affordable. That's the beauty of this GFA harmonization policy. Right, but otherwise you can see the main focus in terms of the entire development is on the homestay demand, and I'm very happy to see within this area it is the correct product for the correct group of people, because within this location of Faber Residences is quite deep in. Based on the map, as we can see from here, it is quite inaccessible, but the livability factors are very much accentuated in this development because of the landscaping. All of these attributes contribute to a better living environment for families. Alright, and you do realize that in Singapore, being a concrete jungle and lots of transformation coming out in the different parts of Singapore, it is quite hard to find something that is actually situated within a tranquil and serene environment. And that's why in the long run, there is still this natural demand coming in where people are okay to forsake certain convenience just to get better livability, get better peace and quietness for the family. Before we move on to the site plan and floor plan analysis, here is how Faber Residences will look like, how beautiful they look, as well as they mimic what we see at Lentor Mansions. Basically, don't you see a resemblance to Lentor Mansions? Right, especially their low-rise portion. Here is also a bird's eye view of Faber Residences superimposed onto the site right beside waterfront at Faber. Alright, so now we move on to the site plan analysis. So this is the site plan of Faber Residences. We can see there's about 9 blocks here, as well as each one being 5 stories. Most of the facilities are in between blocks. Of course, you get your pool, you get your multi-purpose court, you get your gym. What is supposed to be there is already there. Alright, I mean, this is a low-rise development, so they have to do whatever it takes to fit in as many units as possible. And you can see from here the emphasis is on the landscaping itself that seamlessly connects to the environment. So of course, based on the site plan itself, we can see Tower 66, Tower 68 and Tower 70 will probably get the water views. And then of course, we will have each other, all the blocks looking into each other. Tower 58, 56 and 54 itself will have the views of the Faber Walk access routes. If we were to sell you views here, then definitely there's not much views to be sold here apart from the waterway views that you're gonna get towards the river direction. Alright, of course, if you look at the site plan down here, most of the 2 bedrooms will be in the center of the buildings, meaning to say, for example, like stack 38, stack 29, 46, 33, 32, 22, 23, all these are interlooking at each other in between the blocks itself. For the 3 bedroom basics, it's also within the same categorization, will be probably in the middle of the blocks. Then they start to allocate the 3 bedroom standards and the 3 bedroom plus to corner units. Basically, of course, that's the ones where they get a better layout or they get a better windows within the toilet because they are all corner units. Then of course, being a corner unit, there's more privacy. Same goes for the 4 bedroom basic and the 4 bedroom standards. They try their best to allocate the corners to them. And then finally, we have the consolidation of the 5 bedrooms in stacks 63, 66, 62 and 67. Otherwise, this is as straightforward as it gets for your site plan. Alright, so now we look into the floor plan analysis. Whatever floor plan analysis that we are doing today is actually just based on whatever limited information that we have. Alright, so first of all, we start off with the 2 bedroom layout. We can see it's mainly in stacks 38, 46, 55, 8, 11 and 28, mostly getting the north-south orientation as well. As we enter from the main entrance, you're greeted with the kitchen on the right side where they utilize the corner to form an L-shaped kitchen for you, so to better utilize the space and most importantly give that very spacious and grandeur feel when you walk into the living room area. Take note, you get a 3-meter wide living room, which is very rare in today's market, and in fact we started seeing this ever since GFA harmonization happened. The last round where we see this was actually Springleaf, and being the same developer, it's natural that they adopt the same winning formula in Faber Residences itself, because layout is key whenever you are selling the low-rise developments. They already know that it is a low-rise, so there may be a certain disadvantage to it, but the most important part is making sure livability is kept in check. And we can see from the layout here, it is true, because getting a 3-meter wide living room in a 2-bedroom is very rare as compared to the usual 2.7 to 2.8 meters living room that we always get in 2 bedrooms. Alright, this is a dumbbell layout. So reduce the corridor space wastage, broken down into a master bedroom as well as a second bedroom, 2-bed, 2-bath. This is as good and as effective the layout it can get. I think there's no red flag here, and this is something good to start with if you are starting with your building capital journey. Next, we move on to the 3-bedroom basic unit. This 3-bedroom basic unit, it is a 818 square feet type C3. Entering from the main entrance, we pass the foyer area and then we are greeted by an L-shaped kitchen. This is probably the same kind of kitchen that we see at Springleaf Residences. You can still fit in a 6-seater dining set as well as a designated living room area. 3 meters wide again, very generous, and of course this is a traditional 3-bedroom layout with all 3 bedrooms tucked to one side as well as the 2 bathrooms running in parallel against it. What I feel here, actually they could have did the cascading thingy again to reduce the corridor space and better allocate the space into somewhere else. But after all, this is an 818 square feet. They have managed to squeeze whatever they can fit in. I think that this is a very livable 3-bedroom unit. Once again, fills the price void in the current market and again caters to a certain group of people and keeps affordability in check. Here we have another variation of the 3-bedroom basic, which is the dumbbell layout, 797 square feet. So instead of the 818 square feet traditional 3-bedroom, this one reduces the corridor space, brings it down to 797 square feet. It really caters to a group of people who is just starting off with a family and needs a 3-bedroom. It really meets the needs of those and it fills the price void so that those people who cannot afford a 3-bedroom can now finally have an option to do so. Entering from the main entrance, on your left you get an enclosable kitchen, very awesome one. As you move into the living room area, again this is a 3-meter wide living room, very generous again, and then followed by your living and dining designated areas. 1 bedroom on the right that forms up with bathroom 2, and then of course the 2 other bedrooms on the left with the master bath and master bedroom. I think this is as good and as effective as it can get. No red flags and no surprises. In fact, what I really like about this one is also you can split it up to do probably a co-living rental if you ever want to, because this actually doubles up as a junior suite for bedroom 3 and the bathroom 2. Very effective layout for a 797 square feet, and that's what I really love about the new GFA harmonization policy. This developer GuocoLand really capitalizes on this policy and give very livable, effective layouts that ensures that future needs are met, making sure that exit strategy is very clear even for the smaller unit type. In the past, there used to be a stigma that if a 3-bedroom will buy anything below 800 square feet, you are definitely not being able to exit. But with the GFA harmonization, this has really helped the market a lot, and it ensures that, like what I mentioned before, a price void is being filled. I need a 3-bedrooms. There is a unit type that falls within the price range for people to be able to afford. Next, we have the 3-bedroom standard, which also happens to be the show flat unit. There is 1 stack or 2 stacks that actually face the riverside, so you can really get the river views using this 3-bedroom standard layout. As you enter the main entrance, mimicking a little bit of what we see at Springleaf, you enter from the main entrance and on the right you get to see your L-shaped kitchen. Alright, it is not enclosed, but feel free to add an enclosable sliding glass door whenever you want to. But otherwise, there is this flexi area that can double up as a maid's room, a study room, or a storage room. As we progress on into the living area, you will first pass the dining area. Again, it is a 3-meter wide living room, best you can get. 1 bedroom on the left with the 2 other bedrooms on the right. This 3-bedroom standard is actually 861 square feet. Now moving forward, we have a 3-bedroom plus 1033 square feet. The stack that we are focusing on and whatever info that we have now is in stack 44. So entering from the main entrance, you are greeted by a dry kitchen area, followed by an enclosed wet kitchen area with a household shelter, and then a 3-meter wide dining and living room. Alright, notice how they place the dining area right now. This one is going to mimic the 4 and 5 bedrooms that we see at Springleaf previously, and then followed by the 3 bedrooms on the right, a traditional 3-bedroom layout with the bathrooms running in parallel against the bedrooms. Very good layout, very livable. Again, no surprises, no red flags. Now moving forward, we have the 4-bedroom basic. Now this has already become a signature for GuocoLand properties. Entering from the foyer area, you're greeted by a powder room and then as well as an enclosed wet kitchen area, followed by an 8-seater dining set, 3.1 meter living room, and then you have the 4 bedrooms on the right side with one of the bedrooms cascading against each other to reduce the corridor space. The good thing about this is you see that your bedroom 2 itself, because of the extra corridor, they put the corridor in the right place. It allows them to tuck the wardrobe into one corner so that you get a regular square-shaped bedroom 2. Otherwise, usually you have your edges of the closets jutting out. So this layout is customizable in a sense whereby you can actually hack the bedroom 4 to create that landscape layout, but comparing to their previous layouts that they always used to have, they generally run the balcony all the way to bedroom 4 to form that kind of nice landscape layouts that runs in parallel to the perimeters of the balcony. But this one they don't have, they kept it within the living room perimeters. By hacking the wall of bedroom 4, you don't have that wide balcony frontage that a landscape layout should usually enjoy. Next, we have the 4-bedroom standard, which is the 1206 square feet. Now, as we enter the main entrance, you are greeted by a dry kitchen area as well as a wet kitchen area. It is a 3.2 meter wide living room with an 8.5 meter long living and dining area. So they try to merge the benefits of having a landscape layout into a portrait layout, and this is what we have been seeing in very commonly in GuocoLand projects. And then of course you got one bedroom, which is your bedroom 3 on the right to facilitate multi-generation living, as well as all the other 3 bedrooms on the left with your bomb shelter and toilets running in parallel against it. To me, this one, the corridor space may be a bit longer because of the implementation of the household shelters wall, but otherwise very effective, very livable. There's nothing much to complain about. As compared to our counterparts maybe at Tri-Link, this is definitely a much better 4-bedroom layout. As compared to our counterparts at Waterfront Faber, definitely this is a better 4-bedroom layout. Next, we have another type of 4-bedroom standard unit, but based on this 1206 4-bedroom layout, actually the 4th bedroom, again, you can hack away so that you can seamlessly connect the living room to the balcony as well, and you really enjoy that kind of landscape frontage. But again, you lose that 1 bedroom and it becomes a 3-bedroom. So next, we have another variation of the 4-bedroom, which is at 1270 square feet. Entering from the main entrance, you are greeted by the dry kitchen as well as the wet kitchen, and then running in line will be the dining area as well as the living area, with all the 4 bedrooms on the right. The only difference is this one is your usual traditional 4-bedroom. They have the 4th bedroom or bedroom 2 per se cascading against the other bedrooms to reduce the corridor space. But otherwise, different from the usual dumbbell layout that we just see. Again, no complaints and no red flags. Next, we have the 5-bedroom. Now, this one again is what we always see in all GuocoLand projects. As we enter the main entrance, you get a little foyer area. They put the bomb shelter there so that to reduce the corridor spaces, which is a smarter move, I feel. Yet you get your own storage space. 3.2 meter wide living room with an 8.4 meter long living and dining. Get a much bigger kitchen area. This is that kind where we see in the magazines. You can even fit a kitchen aisle in the center. And then of course, you get your yard area. A junior master bedroom with the junior master bath on the right. And then of course, the other 3 bedrooms on the left running in parallel to the toilets, as well as a 3rd bedroom cascading against it so that to reduce the corridor space. Otherwise, you get those very long and dark corridors. Again, they give you the option in bedroom 5, the wall to be able to hack away so that you get your full landscape layout that runs in parallel to the perimeter of the balcony as well, enjoying that kind of river views that you get with the wide frontage. I think right now, ever since GFA harmonization has happened, it has always been portrait layout with a flexibility to hack one wall away to form a landscape layout. So it really depends on your family's needs, but the flexibility is already granted by the developer's designs of the floor plan. Overall, this is the analysis of the floor plan of Faber Residences for whatever that I could get. I think it is very clear they are employing and adopting the same kind of layouts that they have done in Springleaf Residences. I think they have already tested the market and it is a winning formula, and it's catering to the group of people, a quantum where people are about to be priced out and suddenly they have this product in place to be able to price them back in and meet their needs. So I think they are running the same strategy here. GuocoLand really prides themselves on unique, livable layouts like this that has proven to meet the needs of the market in today's market. Now we move on to why I would not buy Faber Residences. Number 1 is the connectivity and the inaccessibility. And to me, as a consumer myself, I value accessibility a lot. I am not a nature guy. Whether you tell me down there got more nature, more livable or not, I don't care, because I need to be near walking distance to at least an MRT, a mall, or maybe public transport. I don't have to be near the MRT per se, but at least near to amenities. But for Faber Residences itself, I feel that it is actually quite deep inside. So if you look at the Google map from here, you can see how inaccessible it is. The main road is generally along the Park Clementi's, Regent Park and Tri-Link, which I've circled down here. There are 2 exits to the main road of Clementi, and we have to actually go past Faber Drive, the cluster of landed, followed by Faber Heights Road, followed by Faber Walk, before we actually hit Faber Residences. So to me, I'm quite concerned about my own kids' well-being or the environment that I'm in. I think the environment is very beautiful, but I think the walk is just really too deep inside. Some families will like it, some families will not, but those who like nature, I've actually got a client that bought Faber Crest before and he really enjoys the lifestyle a lot, but it's just not in it for me. Alright, even if I were to drive, I have to drive very deep in just to get to where he is. Doing viewings at that point of time was actually quite shag in a way lah, alright, as an agent. But of course, no matter where you are, I will still do it. Alright, definitely. But of course, just standing in a personal point of view, the inaccessibility to me is an issue in terms of being a consumer myself, in terms of my own personal preference. But of course, talking about the environment, the serenity of it, the quietness of it, nothing beats this place, especially you're right beside the Ulu Pandan connector as well as the very nice river that we are getting. Then again, this is me being a consumer nitpicking, and of course accompanying this point, it is because of the plot ratio, that's why you are left with a low rise. To me, standing in a low rise point of view, you don't really have that price breakthrough, because at first day launch, probably a first floor to a fifth floor difference will be less than 100 PSF, because let's take for example, each floor increment loading is only about 15 to 20 PSF. From the first floor to the fifth floor, you're probably going to get about 100 PSF. With some developers staging up, probably 150 PSF at most, but otherwise you're not going to get that kind of price breakthrough that we are always looking for when it comes to a high rise. Because high rise building, a low floor, can start off at maybe 2000 PSF, but they can end off at 2800 PSF on the highest floor. 600 to 800 PSF difference in one day. Alright, and that being locked in, it really gives a lot of confidence for future resale buyers to actually put in a higher offer, because when they see it within the development already have PSF being recorded and transacted at a much higher PSF, they got more confidence. But you're not going to get that in a low-rise development at the start per se. So that's why I will not buy Faber Residences. Number two, why I will not buy Faber Residences is the poor track record that we have in the Faber area. So I want to draw your attention to Waterfront Faber. If we look at Waterfront Faber here using our application, you will realize that their profitability and their price trend is quite muted and isn't that good. But we will deep dive in that later. If we look at Waterfront Faber, this is their site plan, following a similar site plan as compared to Faber Residences. And then of course with the facilities in the center, also very densely populated. And if we look at the price trend itself, over the last all the way, it has been quite muted. Only in recent years that it experienced a little bit of appreciation. But otherwise, if you see the recent 3 to 4 years, it's quite stagnating at that point as well. And if we look at the profitability down here, we go into all the transactions itself. The most profits it ever got was actually 455,000 in 7 years and 8 months with a 3.53% annualized. I mean, we have seen 4 bedrooms that have made 800k to 1 million within the same area. Just driving out closer to the main road, we have already Park Clementi's making 1 mil within 4 years. They were a later project, launching higher, but in the end making more than an older project that was launched lower and cheaper. After 8 years, this project only earned 455k. Park Clementi's being a newer project that was sold higher at the start, in the end made 1 mil or 800k for the 4 bedrooms. So what went wrong? Otherwise, probably we can attribute it to poor accessibility, but maybe is there a livability issue within Waterfront Faber itself? But otherwise, it is a poor track record in terms of surrounding areas pricing. If we look at the sales price of the resales in the market, you have the 2 bedrooms transacting at about 1,544 PSF at 1.08 mil. You have the 4 bedrooms transacting at 1,500 PSF at 1.7 mil. But here we have Faber Residences starting from 2,200 PSF, close to an 800 PSF difference. Is that a red flag that we should be looking out for given the wide price gap we have just right beside Faber Residences? Now, moving forward, why I will buy Faber Residences? I think after studying Faber Residences, we have to be very clear why we buy Faber Residences for. Alright, if you are going there for a clear capital appreciation, that later we will need to cover, and we will need to unravel for you an extra analysis that we have done in comparison to the layouts of the nearby properties and all. But of course, on your mind itself, the first thing that you will notice is the vast difference between the PSF of Waterfront at Faber versus Faber Residences itself. Naturally, because it is a low rise for Faber Residences, there is a price gap between the low rise development versus the high rise, such as Park Clementi's. So if you look at Park Clementi's pricing right now, if you take the average 3 bedrooms to 5 bedrooms, you get PSFs like 2004 to 2006 PSF For the lower floors, you get about 2,200 to 2,400 PSF, and then of course you get a high-rise development. But then again, don't forget you need to put in costs for your renovations, so on and so forth. So your cost of owning this property may actually be higher, and not only that, you are also giving the previous owners an appreciation and profit. So meaning to say you have already set a benchmark within the development itself, and you are the record holder as a resale owner. But anyway, coming back here, to realign the vision of why you buy Faber Residences, if you are looking to make a quick return or quick buck out of Faber Residences, then this is not the property for you. I want to align on this vision is actually more about the building capital process, but most importantly, it is the safe entry of this development. I cannot or I cannot guarantee that you will make money from this, but of course we will deep dive to maximize the chances of doing so. But at least I can more or less assure everybody that this is a safe product to be going into because of the school, because of the strong livability layouts, because of the developer's track record that is in place as well. This will be a safe product. You want to bank on high returns, look somewhere else. But you want something that 不会亏钱 and won't lose money, this is the one that you should be looking for. And in the long run, I'm sure GuocoLand has a reason of choosing this land. Such a reputable developer choosing such a land that is so inaccessible. There must be something that they see here. Maybe because of the transformation in the Jurong side, maybe because of the upcoming Jurong Town Hall MRT that is about 8 to 10 minutes away. Maybe it's because of the new park connector that is going to be coming out right beside Faber Residences itself. All this transformation and rejuvenation has probably GuocoLand, such a renowned developer, to come in here and place their foothold here. Otherwise, why would they want to do so? And they are bringing their unique and signature designs down here to improve the livability of this area. Alright, so anyway, coming back, align the vision first. Faber Residences being near the school, there is a natural demand. You want to go for high returns, look somewhere else. But I'm very sure, and I give the assurance that this is a product that will not lose money, and we're going to deep dive in the next few pointers why is it so, and how has GuocoLand actually improved the livability factors so that the needs are met. And when needs are met, the exit strategy is always clear. Anyway, just to deep dive a little bit more, so the first pointer that we'll state here is of course the price gap against the high-rise developments. So we are going to take Park Clementi's, our nearby neighbor. Alright, walking out, you get closest to the main road is of course naturally Park Clementi's. You have 2,600 PSF transacting at 15 August 2025 for a 3-bedroom 1076 square feet. You got 2,500, 2,400, 2,300 PSF all happening within the last 6 months. So in a way, there is a price gap of at least a 200 to 400 PSF difference as compared to its launch price of an average 2,200 PSF. In fact, what we hear from the developers is a 2,350 PSF is already considered on the high side, meaning to say it's likelihood that they will be able to start a bit lower, maybe at 2,180 PSF, so on and so forth. Right, but naturally, because this is a low-rise development, you will expect the floor loading to be a little bit higher, but otherwise, there is just a limitation to how high it can also go. So in a way, within such a 5 minutes drive, within a short distance of 5 minutes drive, you are already 300 PSF lower than the high-rise development. This price gap again provides a safe entry, meaning to say resale owners who buy Park Clementi's at 26 PSF today will need to exit at 29 to 3,000 PSF. You who bought Faber Residences at 22 PSF will have a 800 PSF gap. With that in mind, maybe we meet somewhere in the middle. Can we sell at 2526 PSF? Wherever these resale owners enter at, we exit. In a way, it gives you a little bit more leverage, and not only that, you get the quietness, the tranquility, as well as the serene environment which Park Clementi's isn't able to do so. Because if you realize, Park Clementi's, if we look at the map itself, is surrounded by all the highways and the filter lanes leading to the highways as well. So meaning to say you are constantly getting the hustle and bustle of the roads, the dust and the noise. I'm not sure, have you all went up to one of the Park Clementi's units that actually face the highway itself? You really get that bustle and noise from the roads. Of course, if you want somewhere that is very quiet, that gives your family a very serene environment and promotes the upbringing of your children, alright, in a very good environment, then naturally Faber Residences meets all of these needs. Alright, it's really very difficult to find something in Singapore that is not within the concrete jungle, and just nice you have Faber Residences as a good alternative in today's market. So the first pointer is the price gap that is actually forming the safety net for your safe entry. Number 2, why I will buy Faber Residences. Who says that low-rise cannot make money? Sharing a similar attribute here is actually key residences, and we can deep dive into it to see why low-rise also can make money because of the strong livability needs. So here we have is key residences. So back then, sharing the similar attributes of being tucked in along the Clementi Sunset Way area, many people were wondering, would there be a demand for this? And back then, they were actually launching at a good price of about 1,600 PSF, if I remember correctly, about 1,600 to 1,700 PSF. Fast forward to today, if you look at the latest transactions, they have transacting at 2,300 to 2,400 PSF, close to a 600 PSF increment. And if we look at the profitability of it, we have the latest transaction coming here. We have the 3 bedrooms profiting at 687k, 4 bedrooms at 680k, 3 bedrooms at 665k, 3 bedrooms at 621k, 4 bedrooms sold last year at 585k. On average, they made a profit of 550k to about 700k. Alright, this itself, if you look at the map, here I have the map of key residences. It mimics a similar attribute of what we have here at Faber Residences. And if we look at key residences, it is along Brookview Drive. Now I'm just like panning the map over. You can see how deep inside of the Sunset landed enclave it is before we actually hit the main roads. Otherwise, behind is actually where the Maju camp is. So does it share similar attributes? Being deep inside, being inaccessible, but enjoying that kind of tranquility, lush greenery, so on and so forth, to promote family communal activities and lifestyle. Right? So there is a natural demand in this area. Many people did not believe in key residences, and today it has become the winning story of today's market in terms of low rise as well as lush greenery and a development that is tucked very deep in. There is a constant need for this. And most importantly, Faber Residences has a school, which is Nanhua Primary, as compared to key residences that doesn't have one. The nearest primary school is Bukit Timah Primary School. Is it a bad school? It is a good school, right? So we don't have to worry. But of course, talking about Nanhua Primary School, that is nothing compared to this. That's why Faber Residences learning from the experience of key residences, there is a good possibility and a good safety net for you. But like what I say again, aligning your vision, I'm not here to promise you returns, but at least I know this development won't lose money because of the strong livability factors. Third pointer, improved URA policies that sets itself apart. Alright, so I think the main concern of everyone is of course having waterfront at Faber being only 1,500 to 1,600 PSF as a resale. Now everybody would look at this waterfront at Faber as a strong resale opportunity that can rival new launch returns. Think again. Alright, because why? Waterfront Faber is actually TOP in 2018 with the land being sold in 2013, sitting on a similar plot of land slightly smaller at 162,000 square feet, and from there the plot ratio is 1.4, similar to what we have here at Faber Residences. So it is by World Class Land Private Limited, meaning to say the ones that created your fragrance hotel, so on and so forth. I think we all have a question mark in terms of quality, because if you look at all of the fragrance or world-class land developers, you will realize that their track record in terms of profitability is quite weak. Basically, the quality of the development does not bode well with the long-term sustainability of the project. Alright, so if we look at Waterfront Faber itself, the key thing to take note is this. It being in a 2018 or 2013 land sold development, meaning to say it hasn't gone through all the URA policies improvement, such as minimum average size, such as the balcony restrictions, such as the GFA harmonization. So we are going to deep dive into the floor plans to take a look how these things would actually be improved as compared to Faber Residences. So if we look at Waterfront Faber, this is how the site plan would actually look like. Very densely populated, with all the blocks being very narrowed, and of course they didn't have that minimum size requirement being pushed up to 85 square meters. Previously it was 70 square meters, meaning to say they could still fit more units with a smaller plot of land. Meaning to say if we employ a similar formula today, it would mean that instead of 210 units in Waterfront and Faber, they may be only 180 or 160 units. Maybe one block will be gone so that it promotes better airflow, more landscaping, more family communal activities. That is one thing. So if we look at the site plan itself, it is very densely populated. If you go in there, there is not much airflow going on as compared to the Faber Residences, where you see that during the architectural briefing, the focus is on airflow as well as maintaining strong circulation within the development and maintaining strong landscaping with extensive lush greenery. So all these actually improves the livability and lifestyle of families. But first of all, if you look at Waterfront Faber itself, just by looking at the site plan itself, we know that the developer did whatever they can to maximize their profits by squeezing in as many units as possible. If we look at the unit distribution, good thing is this one didn't have 1 bedrooms as well. They started off with 2 bedrooms at 700 to 721 square feet. We have 25 units. We have 2 bedroom dual key at 29 units, 3 bedrooms at 70 units, 3 bedroom dual key 10 units, 4 bedroom at 55 units, 4 bedroom dual key at 10 units with no 5 bedrooms. Meaning to say the ones that can really be used for own stay is only the 3 bedroom 70 units and the 4 bedroom 55 units. Total 125 units. Still a good distribution, I must say, but let's deep dive into the layout itself. So if we pick a random 3 bedroom layout, 1066 square feet, this is how one of the layouts look like. We have stack 6, stack 7, 16, 24, 25 and 31. Coming in from the main entrance, you will realize that it is an enclosable kitchen, but it is not an enclosed kitchen yet. Moving forward is of course your living and dining, followed by excessive balconies in the master bedroom as well as the living room, and then you get multiple AC ledges in bedroom 1 and bedroom 2. Last time the floor plans were not really drawn so close to scale, but if you take a look at the units real life, this one you have to trust me on that because I've seen Waterfront and Faber units. Their bedroom sizes are actually less than 8 square meters, right? They were actually doing and relying on the loft space to maximize the bedroom areas. So you will realize that this actually belongs to an era where they were promoting a lot of loft spaces, and that's why you can see from this picture down here, there is a illustration of loft unit design here. So in a way, they try to give you a higher ceiling, probably at 4 to 4.2 meters, just for you to put in your loft area to maximize the space. Honestly, if you ask me as a consumer, I've actually personally owned one of these developments by World Class and Fragrance, which is in City Gate itself. Trust me, the bedrooms are very small, and that's why they have to resort to this. Given the current GFA harmonization policies, you are definitely unable to do so because number one, you can't charge the airspace. Number two, the bedrooms will be big enough for you to do so rather than fitting in a loft area. I think this was a trend of the past where people felt that it was good to have a loft to maximize space, but in actual fact, what really gives the house a good livability is horizontal space rather than vertical space. So based on my experience with Waterfront at Faber, the bedrooms are smaller than 8 square meters, probably about 7.8 square meters, just enough to fit a queen size bed, and that's about it. Meaning to say it's very squeezy. Probably a super single will fit in better, and that greatly reduces the livability factors. Now the second thing to take note is this, because it is a promotion of a certain trend in that particular area. Think about it, how livable it is. It is only a 4 to 4.2 meters height ceiling, alright, meaning to say that the minute you create the loft, you are unable to stand up at the loft area. You have to bend or you have to crawl to your bed. How do you feel living inside that? Same goes for the master, and then of course below you can fit your study as well as your wardrobe space. But I think in this day and time, everybody wants flat floor space to have a very strong livability. Alright, so another one is of course we go for the 4 bedrooms layout, because this is something that it is in comparison to whatever that we are gonna get and whatever that this area audiences will be focusing on. So this is the 4 bedroom, 1173 square feet. Comes with a bomb shelter, a very narrow kitchen. Again, this one good thing, it comes with an enclosable kitchen, but do take note because it is non-GFA harmonized and it hasn't gone through the balcony rules. Alright, what is this balcony rule? Alright, it should not exceed 15% of the entire unit square feet, and most importantly, it must be about 1.5 meter wide. There is these rules being set so that there will not be oversized balconies. We can see from here, this 4 bedroom layout being at 1173 square feet has quite a big balcony, but not only that, excessive AC ledges which eats into the space. Same thing like what I mentioned, bedroom 2 seems okay, bedroom 3 seems okay, master bedroom is pretty okay, but if you look at bedroom 1 itself, it has suddenly shrunk in size, reducing the livability factors once again. This is one of the few better layouts we have at Faber. If we deep dive into another similar layout, you will have another Type C2, 1281 square feet, where you will get this excessive balcony running from the living room to bedroom 1 to bedroom 2. Now, this itself greatly reduces the livability factors, and that is why this is one of the detrimental micro factors that we have here at Waterfront at Faber, and that's why you see the 4 bedrooms took 8 years just to earn about 450k, where other 4 bedrooms in other areas within a similar time frame would have earned about 800k to $1 million because of detrimental micro factors like this. Next, we of course have excessive AC ledges. You have one AC ledge in the master bedroom, you have another AC ledge in the bedroom 3, followed by an additional bomb shelter as what we have seen here. Right, imagine how much space has been wasted. 1281 square feet with 30% of the space wasted in AC ledge balcony spaces, meaning to say effectively this is only about a 900 square feet 4 bedroom unit. How livable is that? But if we compare to Faber Residences itself, we are getting a full 1119 square feet 4 bedroom for the 4 bedroom basic. Alright, if we go for the premium, we'll get 1270 square feet. The 1281 square feet here has dropped to 900 square feet, while the Faber Residences 4 bedroom 1270 square feet is fully utilized. Can we see the difference in livability? Naturally, you would argue that, of course, the 1500 PSF would be more attractive. But with all the URA policies in place already, yes, you can buy the 1500 PSF one, but in the end, ultimately, you are paying for wasted space like AC ledge and balcony space. Take all of those away and put them into today's relevant URA policies. We do the math, you will realize that actually, Waterfront at Faber is selling higher PSF than whatever Faber Residences is doing. If we actually remove the wasted space of the AC ledges and the big balcony and put it as though it is into relevant URA policies today, we see the transactions of a 1281 square feet unit transacting in 2023 at about 1.95 million. With that in mind, 2 years has passed already. Probably we say that the 1.935 million experienced a 10% growth, so 1935 times 110%, you'll probably be selling the property at 2.1 mil today. So if 2.1 mil divided by about 896 square feet, assuming that we remove 30% of the wasted space to make it relevant to today's URA policy, meaning to say the effective space within this Waterfront Faber unit is only 896 square feet, we will actually get a PSF of about 2003 to 2350 PSF. So if we put things into relevance after the URA improvement, you want low PSF, you go for developments like this where there is wasted space, close to 30% of wasted space. If you want low PSF, you go for those, but you want effective usage of your capital and something that caters to future consumer needs because of all these strong livability factors due to the URA improvements, you go for Faber Residences. You look at PSF, it's going to be an issue. But you look at livability, you look at layout efficiency, Faber Residences is rectifying all the mistakes that Waterfront at Faber went through. So in a way, if we remove all these spaces, Waterfront at Faber will be about 23 to 2350 PSF. But today we can get Faber Residences at 22 PSF starting from. Isn't this a renewed opportunity for you? But most importantly, even with all these mistakes or all these pitfalls from previous URA policies, they are still able to profit a 400 to 500k for the 4 bedrooms. Then what about Faber Residences, which has gone through all the rectification of all the URA policies and keeping in relevance to today's URA policies? If Waterfront at Faber still can make 500k, then what about Faber Residences that has rectified all of the mistakes at pitfall? Will it do even better? And that is the main reason why I will buy Faber Residences today. Alright, so now we move on to the final verdict. Alright, will it be fabulous or would it fade away? So if we look at the usual concerns of what people have about Faber Residences, I mean, number one, looking at the entire Singapore's supply pipeline right now, there is just not much going on in the west area already. There is no new lands being announced or very limited lands being announced for government land sales. So if you're looking for something near the Nanhua Primary School or in the west or central west region, basically Faber Residences is your next best alternative choice. Accompanied with their launch price of about 2000 PSF, hopefully we'll get to see something at 2100 PSF given GuocoLand's aggressive stance as always during the launch. I think this one is quite an opportunistic alternative that you can be looking for. If you don't buy this, probably you will need to look at something in the far north region such as Canberra Crescent Residences. And if we look at that, ever since the launch itself, because of its competition with Springleaf, it only got sold about 30+% on the first day, but subsequently, because of the lack of supply and lack of choices in the market today, it has moved up to about 60% sales concluded till today, within such a short span of 2 months only. So there is a demand, and given the lack of choices, people have no choice, there is a need, they will buy. Alright, so coming to this final verdict down here, I think Faber Residences is something safe that you can go for. Alright, another reference that I want to draw your attention to is of course the main concern of the difference in entry price. Especially you have one neighbour being about 600 to 700 PSF lower than the current launch price of this newest development. Of course, it has been a long time since there's a new launch in Faber area, and this itself is about 8 years ago, because the launch of Waterfront Faber is about 2013 to 2014. So in that sense, it's been about 10 years since there is actually a new launch in that area per se. Alright, so with that lack of supply, and that is why probably Faber Residences is something that you can go for. Anyway, drawing a similar reference to this is actually Creek at Bukit Timah versus Daintree. If we look at Creek itself, Creek is the equivalent of what Waterfront Faber is today. Alright, we draw reference from that. Because if we look at the site plan itself, it's equally dense. The block-to-block distance is very narrow. Basically, if you're between block 19 and block 17, for example, you can really throw a paper aeroplane and it will reach the other unit's balcony. Alright, and that's how close it is. Very densely populated, very low livability, and if you deep dive into the layouts, it also belongs to the era where they are promoting penthouse units or loft units. So you can see from here is a quick look at the unit distribution for the Creek itself. A lot of emphasis on the 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms with little emphasis on 3 bedrooms. You only have 3 bedrooms, 64 units. And if we look at a random 3 bedroom layout, they are all generally about 1,600 square feet to 1,700 square feet even. Alright, the 926 square feet are a little bit more regular shape, but you can see from here the 3rd bedroom can't even fit a queen bed. Fitting in a single bed with a side table is as much as it can go for a common bedroom. Bedroom 2 has this loft area, and can you see how much area is wasted in the balcony, in the AC latch, making this having very huge detrimental factors. Similarly, it has loft units as what we have seen in Waterfront at Faber. So meaning to say the bedrooms are small, that's why they have to use this kind of loft concept to give you a little bit more space to promote better livability. There is no 4 bedroom units, there's only 4 bedroom penthouses, and generally it is split into 2 levels. As you come in from the private lift area, at least you get your landscape layout, but if you look at the bedrooms, you can't fit a queen size bed. Bedroom 3 is exceptionally small because of all the void areas, and if you move up to the 2nd level, you got a master bedroom with 2 big open terraces, and that is what GFA harmonization is for. It is to stop all of these kind of stupid layouts that I classify as stupid really, because it really reduces the livability factors, and people are paying for unnecessary space. It's really so hard to own a property today, and yet we are having units that are having very detrimental micro factors that do not promote livability. Alright, so I think you all can feel how strongly I feel about this development. Alright, and if we look at this, we have Creek Residences or Creek at Bukit Timah within a similar time frame of when Daintree was launched. We look at the transactions. Profitability wise, quite healthy. It's about ranging of 400 to 500k, probably following the inflationary rates within 8 to 10 years. So now we have the equivalent of Waterfront Faber as an example here, which is the Creek at Bukit Timah. Next, we have a similar one, which is Daintree Residences, that was launching in 2018. Alright, and that itself has already more or less gone through the improvement of URA policies. And if we look at Daintree Residences itself back then, was launched in 2018, alright, with a starting price of about 1,600 to 1,700 PSF. The Creek at Bukit Timah, within the same region of time in 2017, is about 1,300 to 1,400 PSF. A 300 to 400 PSF difference, exactly like what we are seeing today. Waterfront Faber versus Faber Residences, a 600 to 700 PSF difference. Similarly, Creek at Bukit Timah versus the Daintree is about 400 plus per square foot difference. Both same starting point, both similar attributes. Now we see within a similar time frame what has happened. Fast forward to today, the creek at Bukit Timah in 2025, along the way, they gone up to 1,700 PSF, but suddenly today, they dropped to 1,400 to 1,600 PSF from the 1,700 to 1,900 PSF. In a way, they appreciated because of poor livability factors and stronger competitors coming out within the upper Bukit Timah area. End up now, they have no choice but to sell back at 1,400 to 1,500 PSF. Fast forward today, you see Daintree Residences selling at an average of 2,000 to 2,100 PSF. Within the past 8 to 9 years, we see Creek at Bukit Timah appreciating only about 500 to 600k. But if we look at Daintree Residences profitability, within that short span of 4 years, we would see the 4 bedrooms experiencing a 742k profit. Shorter time span, shorter holding period by 5 years, yet making close to double the profits. Does this represent a similar scenario that we are going through? The Creek at Bukit Timah is the equivalent of today's Waterfront Faber versus Daintree Residences, which is the equivalent of today's Faber Residences. Alright, using these two examples, I hope you are able to draw a similar reference because of the improvement in URA policies. And I hope definitely Faber Residences presents a unique opportunity for you, because for those who are trying to find a home to stay in with a good primary school and good environment, then probably Faber Residences is a good alternative for you. Do not let the other developments in the areas because of not doing your own personal research and let it cloud your judgment. It's just because it is 600 PSF higher. Take a look at the livability, take a look at the layout. I've shown you multiple examples that low rise, there is a possibility of appreciation such as key residences. I've shown you price gap between the high rise versus the low rise that provides you your safety net. But most importantly, I've drawn clear comparisons to previous experiences that has resales being 400 to 500 PSF lower than the new launch launching beside. But ultimately, the new launch end up making more because of better URA policies that focuses on livability. When livability needs are met, there will always be exit strategy, thus there is always a natural demand, and that's why you will always make money and you can sell in bad times or good times. Like what I say, to align the final vision of Faber Residences, I'm not promising you very high returns here. You don't buy Faber Residences because of strong capital appreciation for something to flip in the next 4 years. True, maybe in the current market pipeline, there's nothing else cheaper than this. It does provide you with a safety net. You buy Faber Residences for a long-term sustainability and safety net. I am very assured that you will not lose money here. But if you want to make strong profits, you got to hold a longer term. I hope you like my insights so far. Much research has been gone into this, coupled with my personal acumen and personal experience over the years. I mean, if you never see all these units on the ground, how would you know Creek at Bukit Timah will replicate whatever that Waterfront Faber has? If you didn't see Waterfront at Faber before, how would you know that the bedroom is actually small, that it needs to have a loft area? And all these are experiences that I have on the ground that I bring to the videos, and that's why I can make this analysis for you. So for those who like my analysis so far, remember to like, share and subscribe. Do contact me at 94569398 for a personal one-to-one consultation so that I can cater to every one of your scenario. I've met a lot of friends already. Please continue to contact me as I want to get to know you better. With that, we end today's session. See you in the next review in the Essentials channel.